And, the chairman immediately opens his eyes and he said, definitely, he got it. He got the position. And then he goes to Bill Gates and he told him, Mr. Bill Gates, I want your daughter for my son. And Bill Gates, with a sarcastic, tone, answers him like, "My daughter is too young to get married. And most important, who the hell is your son in order to ask me?"
By the way, if it's your first time tuning in today, please hit the subscribe button and smash the like button. This way we can hack the algorithm and show this episode to more people too. By the way, this is a podcast interview which I host every week with inspiring guests or message so you can help you grow your business to the next level. Welcome back to the Drive to Succeed podcast. We have the one and only Malik Shishtawi on the show. By the way, Malik, you are the founder and president of Arab Social Media Forum. And can you tell us a little bit more about your background and, of course, the reason you're here today is to add value and share your experience about the social media space and what your event is all about.
Definitely. First of all, allow me to thank you, Dan, for hosting me today. I've been following your, videos for the past period, and I'm again impressed with what you're trying to do. I know before it was a bit tough, to convince people to understand the value of podcasts and the efforts that these YouTubers and the content creators, just as your good self, are doing. However, I think one of the positive factors related to the current pandemic is the understanding the value of this content. And I think people like yourself creating valuable content for people to support them during this challenging period is really appreciated. And I hope together with you today, we add some useful information and added value to your audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And by the way, what's your background? How did you get started with this kind of thing? I'm sure we had a quite, happy chit chat before we start recording, but, just to give some context for our audience today, who is Malik Shishtawi?
It's a very long, journey, I think, to try to brief it. But I will do my best not to take long time. Before talking about the events area, let's talk about Malik Shishtawi original background, which is related to technology, marketing, and events. My passion started with technology before even marketing. I was a big fan of technology. I was an old user of internet since 1997. I started my old first website very long time ago. I was passionate about computers, operating systems, programming, and later internet and web development. So it was more like a technical background.
Mm-hmm.
Then with the timing, I realized that I have a big passion into also branding and graphics, because I was drawing since I was 5 years old. So it was an interesting combination later to see what you can do with art and computers and the graphic design world, in early stages when we started using Adobe, Photoshop for the first time. It was a very interesting experience. And then combining all of this together with the web to create a nice web presence, combining graphics and content together, it was again another added value. While it was all random and crazy, you're talking technical and you're talking graphics, and then later when the online advertising world started to boom in the web space, I also got into that world, and I was a bit concerned about this, random jumps. It is relevant for me because there is always a kind of a supporting background to all of these, but it wasn't in the business world or even in the career world until back then a title of head of digital appeared, which was very new at that time, and it was a weird combination where you, as a head of digital, you need to understand marketing and advertising background at the same time, digital strategies and digital presence auditing, and at the same time having the technical background to evaluate your also technical team.
Mm.
So I was lucky, I think, because at that time no one was prepared properly to have all of these backgrounds at the same time, especially in our region, in the Arab world. And I felt blessed to have all of these backgrounds, and I managed to get myself this position in one of the top global international advertising agencies in the region, at that time in a Jordan office.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like my background as an expertise, where I until now provide consultancy and training related to marketing, digital and social media, and events.
Understood. Yeah, and I'm just really curious when you mentioned about, so you have, I didn't know you had a technical background. So you were also a web developer, probably learned how to, put in ads on the website and track those analytics, because I know, I think I met the director of marketing on one of these private jet airplanes, where he was he used to be the I think head of digital or head of design digital in Apple. But then again, when he came into UAE, he mentioned that the marketing space or the digital space are still like stones, like we are still living in the cave, compared to US. So,
And this was mission. This was my mission, and when I started, my first event.
uh-huh.
Just to give you a very small recap. What you mentioned, when you compare, when you are in early stages in something and you have the background and you know the value, and you see the environment around you, and you realize that we still need a lot of time to reach there, and we're way behind the other more developed markets. You have a responsibility towards yourself, towards your community, to change this. And the Arab Social Media Forum wasn't, most of the people know me as the founder of Arab Social Media Forum, and they think that this was my very first event, and they look only at the successful and bright side of it.
Yes.
While in fact, the first event organizing experience for me was back in 2008, when an initiative called Twistival started globally. It was organized at the same time in 150 plus cities around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twistival, for those who were not familiar with the name, means Twitter Festival. It's an initiative where that aimed at bringing together people from Twitter on the virtual world, online, to the real world to meet up. We call them tweeps. For the tweeps to meet up in real life, and at the same time to discuss important discussions related to what they discuss online.
Mm.
And at the same time to support a positive and noble cause. Usually either they pick a charity or they ask you to pick a charity, nominate a charity that they have to approve. And in 2008, I decided to take on this challenge and create one of the first Twistivals in the Arab world. Mm-hmm. And I decided to launch Amman Twistival in Jordan back in 2008, and it was a big failure. So there was no big audience online at that time, and I didn't have enough experience to put things together and connect the dots together. And only 2 people show up in my event. So we had even I got a sponsor who brought us like meals for like 50 people, because I was expecting a minimum of 50.
Yes.
We had 50 meals arranged for audience, and no one came, so we had to send it to charity, distribute it, which was good. It wasn't a bad thing. It was a big learning for me, Dan. And since your podcasts are focusing on success and the journey to success, I want to share with you and your audience a very important learning from this experience. And this learning comes from a very nice story that is stuck in my head since that time until today.
Yes.
The story, maybe you know it and a lot of people know it, but maybe a lot of people, they don't relate it.
Honestly.
It's a famous story, unreal story, imaginary story about the guy who wanted his son to marry the daughter of Bill Gates.
Really?
So the guy had a jobless loser son who has nothing. He's not even able to manage a job. He's young, jobless, not interested in anything in life, and he wants to support his son. He wants him to get a proper job, to get a nice position, and find his path in life. So he calls his son, and he told him, I want you to marry. And he said, like, father, I'm too young to marry, and also I'm jobless. Like, I have better priorities to focus on. He told him, you don't worry. I told you need to marry, so you need to marry. He told, no, Dad, it's not the right time, etc. And then he told him, what if I tell you that the bride is the daughter of Bill Gates, the richest man on earth? So his son,
that time, I mean, now it's Jeff Bezos.
Yes. So at that time, I'm telling you, more than 12 years ago. Dan. So the guy was the son immediately opened his eyes with big interest, and he told him in that case, yes. And then the guy goes to the global chairman of the World Bank, and he tells him, I want to hire my son as one of your World Bank chapters globally, and I want him to be the CEO of one of your chapters. And the chairman, like, with a big sarcastic, surprising answer. First of all, we don't have vacancies, but most important, who is your son in order to ask me to hire him in such a position?
Yeah.
And the guy simply answers him, my son is the husband of Bill Gates'
daughter.
Like the son-in-law of Bill Gates. And the chairman immediately opens his eyes, and he said, definitely, he got it. He got the position. And then he goes to Bill Gates, and he told him, Mr. Bill Gates, I want your daughter for my son. And Bill Gates, with a sarcastic tone, answers him, like, my daughter is too young to get married, and most important, who the hell is your son in order to ask me to give my daughter to him? And he told him, my son is the CEO of one of the World Bank chapters globally. And Bill Gates shake his head, saying, in this case, we talk. So sometimes you have a vision in your head. Moral of the story, Dan. People may take it only as a sarcastic story and laugh at it. But moral of the story is, sometimes you have a vision in your head, and you need to connect the dots. You see the final outcome. You see the final output, but people around you cannot see it. So sometimes you have, in a way or another, to link dots together. And this is maybe the first time I say something like that in an interview. But this is the topic. This story and the way I utilize this story in my life is the topic of my upcoming book, which I hope to publish in 2021.
Yes.
Is how to connect the dots. Sometimes you have connections around you that if you approach like separately, they will not be interested in your project. But if you connect them together indirectly and you make them see the value of them working with each other, even if it didn't happen yet, even if you eventually share with them your vision, the way you see it, things will move in a different track. And this is the way I realized that this is what happened in the first successful Twistival, which was my second Twistival back in 2009.
Yeah,
and I thought this is I should use my connections. I should see how they can work together with me to bring value to the world, and propose this to them as a complete vision, even if it is not completed yet.
Yes.
But because I believe will work if they believe also in it, it's a risk that you will take, because if you make people believe in your vision and then it doesn't work, then you lose your reputation, which is your capital. If you don't have money, if you're not an angel investor or a venture capital, your capital is your yes, your reputation is your capital, and you don't want to risk losing that. So if you want to convince people about your vision, you have to be confident that you will fight for it and you will do your best to make it come true.
Yes. By the way, I think I heard that story before, but the way you delivered it is so powerful. And now I'm just really excited because, there's some just triggers inside of me, like, who do I know that I can approach after this interview and make whatever my goal, my objective, my vision this year to make it happen. And you always mention about connecting the dots, and I believe that is also one way that we connected through LinkedIn. And by having Rahaf on my previous show, I know Zaina from the past. We have common friends, so we somehow connected the dots, and now we're talking about here on Zoom and about your history and the forum itself. So I really love what you stand for, and thank you for sharing about your new book coming up, and the tweet. What's the name of David? Twistival, yes. And also, it's really relevant right now in terms of using social media, especially that the pandemic come in, and the way you organize these events. Because most people don't know is that even though you're organizing an event and you have these famous speakers, famous authors coming into your event, doesn't mean that it's 100% guaranteed that the event will be a success. And even the speaker will show up, because especially if it's the first time or second time. And you mentioned about also your previous event. I know the ASMF, or the Arab Social Media Forum, has been 10 years, and you mentioned, and now when it's on the website, there's only 7th edition, so there was like 3-year gap. So can you tell us more about that? What are the failures look like, and how did it started?
Definitely. So now you understand the background, and I'm happy, and I'm happy to hear your feedback about connecting the dots. So you motivate me to continue with my plans to finish my book, and hopefully share this value with more people around the world. And now regarding Arab Social Media Forum, which is my baby, and the project that I started with a big interest. What happened in 2008? I got a scholarship to go to Sweden, sponsored by an entity called the Swedish Institute, with a big agency also in Sweden, very, very advanced digital agency at that time called Hyper Island, who sponsored a program for us to give a diploma in leadership and social media. And I was lucky to be one of the approved participants who got this scholarship. And I traveled to Sweden to get this diploma, and I successfully, thank God, got it. And I came back to the region with a big, interest and motivation to launch the first Arab social media agency to provide consultancy for big corporates in the Arab world. And I faced the big wall. What is it?
Social media. Exactly.
What is social media? Thank you very much. Or you know what? Even for those who knew what is social media, I heard comments from big marketing executives in like international companies telling me, "Are you crazy? My son plays with Facebook. You want me to put my company on Facebook?" One other comment, which is not as sarcastic as the previous one, was, "But I have a lot of complaining customers out there. Would I be crazy to open an additional complaints channel where people will come and start telling me bad things online?" So with these kind of comments and questions, I felt maybe I fail in launching the agency, but at least I can succeed in launching an initiative to educate and create awareness. corporates needed to understand at that time that if you are not there to control the conversation and bring it into one channel where you can interact and fix things and put it forward in a nice way, it will happen whether you want or not in other platforms where you don't have control and even you will not monitor, and it can create even a bigger damage. So this is where we started our first objective in launching the Arab Social Media Forum. And I used my methodology of connecting the dots. So I decided to bring some of my good connections from the more developed worlds to the Arab world. So we brought speakers from UK, from Sweden, from France, from USA to come to the region and share their experience in the corporate business, how they used social media. And I started it, yes, with hope that it will success like the previous festival, but it went more beyond. Instead of having 100 people only, we had around 300 participants. We had big companies participating and supporting our events. We had companies like Yahoo. We had companies like Aramex. We had companies like Google, IBM, and Dell in the next editions. And I believe why brands and partners and sponsors believed in Arab Social Media Forum is because it started with a passion and non-commercial objective. I believe it starts an initiative just to sell.
Yeah.
And I think this is something you understand very well, Dan, being a content creator. If you started this podcast with an objective of making money, no one will believe in your message or your content, right?
Yes.
But if you have a mission of creating value and really doing your passion the way you love and the way you think is right, things will come towards you even without planning. And this is exactly what happened to us. We realized that people were approaching us to collaborate, to sponsor, to partner, whether it was paid sponsorships or in-kind sponsorships or even media partnerships. We had a tremendous interest of partners around us and participants to join the event. It was a big success story, and even without thinking of what's next, we had one of the participants who owns a big events agency in Saudi Arabia who approached us, and he said, guys, we're very impressed with what you did in this edition, and we want to host your second edition in Saudi Arabia. And then again, connecting the dots, Dan. Amazing. So this can be not a simple initiative that only happened one time in Jordan. This can be an ongoing rotating event that rotates around the region to create value and share knowledge with people who are not able to make it and attend one edition of the events. Because, when you do it in a country, 90% of the audience will be specifically from that country.
Yeah.
And only 10% will travel specially to attend. So it was a great idea to give fair advantage to people who could not travel to watch or attend an edition, especially that live broadcasting and online events were not popular at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think even until now, most people are still figuring out how to host or even produce a successful live event or a live conference. I know in the US, there's like 2 or 3 day summit where, there's like, 100 speakers.
Yes, like a complete summit, same as if it is in real life, like fully functional, fully sponsored, fully staged with audience and sponsors, and it works same as physical conferences, if not better. But unfortunately, we're way behind this. But to tell you again, you as an event organizer or any business owner, you need to be fast in adapting and changing to match the environment and situations and challenges
Yes.
around you. Otherwise, you will fail. We remember what the famous story of Facebook and how suddenly they appeared, and famous platforms that we were using before, for people who know what I'm talking about, like High Five or MySpace,
Yeah,
disappeared
MySpace.
overnight. And why is this? Because they did not see a value of considering a competitor or an environment as a threat. A threat is always there if you don't have the willing to develop, to change, and to adapt. And what we see that Facebook, because he was able to do that to other people, he did not want someone to come and do the same to them. And they were very smart about their strategy. They did not launch the platform and sleep on it. They were developing and creating a new APIs and new technologies that evolves with the technology itself. So no one will come and create a new platform that competes with them. And even when someone created these platforms, they were smart to acquire these platforms and put it under Facebook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
More powerful and the more complementing each other instead of competing each other. And this is you as an owner of any business, organization, or initiative. You need to adapt fast. With Arab Social Media Forum, after the past six successful editions that I will brief you about after this part, and why we're doing now the 7th, not the 10th, versus our 10 years anniversary.
Yeah.
We could sit back. I could look at Corona COVID-19 situation and say, you know what, I cannot do my event anymore. It was planned to be in October. The actual physical event date was planned to be 10/10/2020, the 10th of October 2020. And I see you shake your head. You notice I always pick sexy dates, huh?
Yeah.
To make it's never forget about it. So I had one option, Dan, two options. Either I sit back and I say, no, it's not gonna work, and I have to stop, cancel, or postpone, or simply I have to adapt and see the value of being a pioneer in shifting into the virtual events and be one of the first people who shifts completely into virtual events due to the pandemic, and show people that we can adapt and we can manage to still keep our event. And instead of doing it the same date, we even challenged ourselves, Dan, to make it even earlier. So, some people in such occasions, they will delay to have time to prepare.
Yes.
For us, no. We decided we make it earlier to challenge ourselves, number one. And number two, to maintain our key message and key mission that I briefed you about in the beginning, which is creating value for the people. And if people needed our content before, they need it more and more now, because now people are facing failures, people are facing problems, whether it was in their career level, in their own business level, even in their social and personal life levels. So we adapted not only done on a technology or a platform level to shift from physical to virtual, but also we have adapted our program and our agenda. If you had the chance to look at it, and I advise all of our audience watching this podcast to go to the URL written behind me, asmf.me or arabsmf.com or arabsocialmediaforum.com, and watch and read our program to realize that even this we adapt to match the current challenging timing. You have to adapt. People will tell you, I have more important topics to discuss these days, Dan. And I tell them, yes, I totally respect, I totally understand, and it doesn't have to be about social media. One of the panels that we are launching in our upcoming editions in a few days is a panel called ability to manage your social, mental, and physical health during the pandemic. And this
Mm.
is something not directly related to social media, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's some parts that we can relate and cover, but the most important part is the human part. We need to support people in this
Yes.
occasion, and to support them. This is the first time ever done that we launch Arab social media forum for free.
Yes.
Usually, people have to pay. In the physical event, we have a lot of cost involved, like the venue,
Yeah.
the F&B, the logistics of the speakers, because we host them. So we bring them, we cover the travel expenses and their accommodation expenses, and even the incentive expenses after the program to explore the city that they visit. So all of this is a cost, right? And
Yes,
we
of
cannot
course. Yeah.
absorb this cost or cover it only purely by sponsors.
Yeah.
So we have to put a minor part of it on our audience.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, because it's virtual and because of our commitment towards the community, we decided to make it 100% free. So the maximum number of audience can enjoy, the valuable content. And I advise all of your audience to go now, not now, immediately
Later.
after
Once we release it.
after our podcast.
Yeah.
I don't want you to miss the important information that we will share, but definitely after this podcast, the very first thing you should do is to go to arabsmf.com
Yeah.
and register for free to enjoy our session upcoming Saturday, 6/6/2020, inshallah.
Yes. Thank you so much. And also, one thing that I really love about your story, I didn't know that it was originally a nonprofit initiative. Where you just wanted to open up discussion, open up, trends, strategies, tools, and how companies can use social media. And initially, when I started podcasting as well, most people don't know this, or even the new ones, is that I have a boutique marketing agency which focuses on production. But the reason why I started my podcast is because I wanted to reach out and connect to mentors, authors, thought leaders who can show me the way how to run a business properly. And it's just connected because you had a background in Sweden. One of my mentors in the past was from Finland, so they're way there in the Nordic area, and coming from or having a doctrine with this kind of mindset that we just need to make it happen, work with people, relationships, and have an open forum instead of. And this is one of the things that I think where most professionals commit mistakes in using social media, is that they go on social media posting about themselves, promoting about themselves instead of going there and having a discussion so that the audience can participate instead of them like selling them. And I think brands, companies can also relate to this. That's why there's a lot of, controversial about influencers. And you know about this as well. And I really, salute on the topics and lineup and speakers that you're producing in the forum. I'm just really just to...
Since we're talking about you,
Yeah.
I think this is the right time to share the good news with your followers and supporters that we're pleased to definitely inform them that Dan will be part of our panelists and speakers in the upcoming Arab Social Media Forum to talk exactly about what he was talking about specifically. We have a very interesting panel about using social media for personal branding, and personal branding is a very important topic in this challenging period. Many people has lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Many people are facing difficult situations, and this is the right panel if you are one of these to give you information on how to build on your skills, how to promote your skills. You at the end of the day, and your skills are the product. Same way brands are promoting their products, you can promote your product, and there is always a strategy and a smart approach to do that, which is exactly what Dan was highlighting now. And Dan, in addition to other three valuable and professional speakers from the personal branding and public speaking coaching globally will join us, inshallah, in this panel. So I look forward to have this very interesting conversation with you, Dan, during the day.
Thank you, Malik. And also, let's go back to the topic of, you mentioned you have 10th year.
Trust me. I know it looks like I'm trying to run away, but I'm not. It's like, the conversation is really interesting, Dan. I appreciate your time and the space you're giving us to express and share this story with your audience. And I'll come straight forward to the 10th anniversary versus 7 editions. When we say 10th anniversary, we means it's 10 years since we founded the initiative, not 10 editions. Some people will come definitely and ask why 10 years and 7 editions, not 10 editions.
Yeah.
The reason comes back again to what we were talking about, and that's why it was a very important introduction for people to understand the answer that I will give now. The main purpose of the event is not only counting the number of editions or counting the number of sponsors or how much money we made from this business. The main purpose is to create a value. And to create a value, either you have to be A to Z on top of your product or service and understand that the quality all of your partners are expecting, whether it was a sponsor, a partner, or a normal participant, or even a speaker. All of these involved parties in your event are having a specific level of experience in their mind. And maybe it's easier for new speakers who join us in upcoming editions, Dan, because I can simply present to you our impressive profile of 6 previous editions, and you can see the value of sponsors and speakers. But if you look at previous editions, when we have only 1 or 2 editions, you need to make sure that you pick nicely and properly all of these involved partners, whether it was a sponsor or a speaker or a media partner. You need to make sure these people believe in your message and your mission, and they want really to add value and to support it. And doing this, trust me, is not an easy mission. People, come at the day of the event after smoothly registering, picking their badge, sitting on the chair, and simply watching the show happen, right?
Yes.
There is a huge behind the scenes backstage work to liaise with all of these parties to make sure the expectations are clear, the vision is clear, and we all are on the same page, and we deliver a content that will make all of us proud.
Yeah.
Coming again to the answer, if one of these factors are not or is not in place, I will decide to either change the location of the event and take it over where I can control it, or to simply cancel the event if I don't have the time, to replace or alternate with different option.
Yeah. And also, I just wanted to follow up. Sorry about that. I just wanted to follow up on that because, like I mentioned, when you're running an event, maybe some sponsors backed out, some speakers, maybe the main speaker backed out as well. Have you encountered this type, and how did you overcome it? And because obviously, it's quite tricky when you're organizing an event like this because you're answering to not just one people or one party. You have the sponsors here on the other side. You have media partner here on the other side. You have the audience who paid on the other side. Of course, the team as well. How do you overcome this? I'm sure there's a lot of headache on this, like mental challenges, and probably some breakdowns. If
Yes, definitely. Most important, especially when you run an initiative as a one-man show, it's not always easy to have a big team when you're taking the risk, especially in the very early stages of an event. You cannot hire people, you're doing it with taking the risk that you're willing to invest your time and your money, a cause or a mission that you believe in, but you will be limited with the resources. So if you don't have the right skills to be like multiple expertise, that's why again I relate to the story that I shared with you earlier. When you are someone who has the technical background to launch your website, and the technical background to design your artwork, and the marketing background to promote your event, and the sales and business development background to discuss the opportunity with your prospects and potential partners. All of these, if you cannot carry all of these hats at one time with the most important skill of planning and time management and event management, definitely you will fail. A proper planning is the key to success in any event. You cannot leave things to chances and mistakes and last minute surprises. You have to do a lot of planning for plan B and plan C. I respect all of the speakers and I pick them carefully. Most of them not only like random speakers, but even with a personal relationship and a friendship sometimes. Because you as someone who's in the industry for 18 years plus, all of these expertise are people who used to start with you, right?
Yes.
Some of them started even with you. So number one, you know and you trust their value and expertise. Number two, they do the same. So when you even moderate a panel, Dan, and this is something I shared with you off the camera or of the recording, you don't even have to plan your questions and answer ahead of time, because it will look like a fake interview.
Yeah.
Which we're doing now. Now we're doing it spontaneous.
Yeah.
You have my background, I have your background, and we know how to run the discussion, right?
Yes.
And this is the key or the secret essence of a successful podcast. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I think this is also one of the beauty of running these virtual events, these online, channels, interviews, because it's not like TV or it's not like radio where the questions are sent beforehand and, people can see the real Malik Shishtawi, not just someone who's watching on the TV and, getting this pre-canned answer.
Yes, and to be honest with you, even when I was called for like important TV channels interviews or things like that, I tried like my best. Even if they insist that I share what I'm gonna talk about, I try to make it high level, but I don't want in specific to have always a pre-prepared questions and answers. And people who are following me for a long time, they will know, because they used to either attend my events or to see me online in one of the recordings or interviews. I never hold a paper when I moderate a session. Wow. I completely know who I'm talking to. I completely understand the industry and the market and the surrounding situation, and I do drive the conversation based on that. So this is a key factor. When you plan an event, you need to know who you choose. And even no matter how much I trust my speakers, things happen, Dan. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Someone will have a loss, God forbidden, in 1 or 2 days before an event. Someone will have an incident. Someone will have a challenge with his company policies if he's working with a
company,
international big companies. And these things happen. That's why we have always to consider proper planning. For this part, for example, since we're sharing openly our knowledge and experience, you need always to focus more on discussion panels, less on one single person, big events. Because if I have a topic that I announce and I promote and I say 6 wait for me, 6/6/2020, Dan will be with us live in the Arab Social Media Forum, and I focus only on Dan, and something happens with Dan, the whole thing will collapse, But if I focus on discussion panels where we have at least 3 to 4 speakers per panel, even losing one speaker per panel will not impact the whole event. Also, putting always a plan B, being especially now as a well-known event with a lot of people who trust us, we also receive a lot of requests from interesting speakers who are not aware of, we cannot, cover all of the speakers around the world.
Yeah.
Some speakers are eager to reach to us to share with us the passion and the mission of creating value.
Mm-hmm.
So these speakers, usually, even if we are on a full capacity for an event speakers or panelists, we tell them that we're happy to cover them if we have a slot.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't, we are always happy to put them as plan B in case any of the speakers apologize.
Yeah.
If not, we're happy to consider them in the next edition because we start to know about them. So having always plan B and C when it comes to your speakers in an event is also a key. But most important, Dan, and this is the reason why we have 7 editions in 10 years, is the local organizing partner. I'm not a Superman, Dan. I cannot, travel all around the world to manage locally all editions. When we usually do edition in a country that I don't operate or have a legal presence, I count on local partners who either usually I approach if I know them personally, or same like what happened to us in the Saudi edition, they reach to us and they express their interest. And I use your platform to definitely share this message with all event organizers and people who have expertise and good knowledge in organizing events. If they come from a country where we never organized Arab social media forum before, we're more than happy to discuss this offline or using digital platforms like LinkedIn. I'm sure you will tag my LinkedIn account in this podcast, so people can always connect with me, share with me their portfolio and experience in organizing events, and I'm happy to discuss the opportunity of bringing Arab Social Media Forum physically to their country. However, sometimes we are approached by companies or individuals who have passion to organize the event, but they prove to fail later, right?
Yes.
Either by not having the right
contacts
or audience or sponsors or government support or even legal coverage. So we usually count a lot on our expertise in evaluating these local partners. At the end of the day, people make mistakes. We put maximum efforts, but we're not protected from making mistakes or failing in choosing partners. That's why if we feel a risk of a partner not delivering 100% an edition that we expect them to deliver, we either alternate and or cancel. And I will tell you 2 stories to show you how it works.
Yes.
One of the sponsors, or sorry, local organizing partner, he canceled one of the editions 1 month only ahead of the launch time.
Wow.
This one, I took the challenge and I said, okay, 1 month ahead of time, I'm able to alternate the edition. It was supposed to be in one of the GCC countries, and I was in Jordan at that time. So I decided to do it again in Jordan. That's why Jordan is the only country that hosted the Arab Social Media Forum 2 times. You will notice that we never repeat the same country. We always move to a new country. We created an edition in Jordan, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar and Oman. 5 different countries. So we have 5 different countries, but 6 editions. This is another question. Why? Because this edition that was cancelled, I had to make it up fast. I didn't want to, because we announced it. It was it was announced, and it was people had expectations, and I had the capabilities to organize it and launch it in Jordan with my expertise and capabilities in that country. So we decided to relaunch again or launch a 3rd edition again in Jordan. However, in another case, the local organizing partner let us down last minute.
Like what kind of down? I mean, they didn't
Like
show up
he
or
he
logistics?
decided he decided to apologize that he's not capable of proceeding with the event. And I will not go through
Yeah,
details. Dan, you
yeah,
know that sometimes politics happen.
yeah.
Sometimes you trust someone who's in the same field of your field, and you realize later that maybe it's a good idea in order to make their initiative shine, that they kill your initiative.
Understood. It's like
Right?
someone copied the idea and like, why will I partner with Malik if I can just do it here on my own and create another?
Definitely, these things happens, and at the end of the day, when I started Arab Social Media Forum, I'm sure people who are there for a long time, they know that when you say social media event, it was only the Arab Social Media Forum, and when you say the term social media, it was always Malik Shishtawi. But later, I don't even want to tap into the area of comparing or even competing or discussing, because it became somehow sarcastic.
Yeah.
Everyone show up and say, put the title, I'm a social media expert, and everybody put a title of a social media trainer, and everybody wants to create a social media summit, right? So, we didn't want to tap into this area, and
Yeah.
we decided that two things are differentiating us, or let me correct it to three, Dan.
Yeah.
Number one, which is the first point I mentioned for you, we're not commercial. We have a mission, and we're always willing to take it until a last breath to make it happen, even if it was commercially not worth it for us. Number two is the history. We have a history that most of the people they know, especially if they come from a solid background in our industry. They know me as a person and my event as an event, and they will trust it because they will not come to you comparing like, but there is this event, because they cannot even compare the 10 years history and the 7 editions or the 6 editions so far with someone who was running at for 1 or 2 times. And most important is the continuity. If you are a commercial, and if you're doing it like a hit and run model,
target, yeah.
yes, it will be one of 2 cases. Either you will try to get sponsors, and if you fail, you will cancel your event, right?
Yes.
Or you will do it one hit and run, and you will make money, and you will say, "Khalas, enough. I don't want anymore." Right?
It's a lot of headache, and it's not worth my time, and just focus on another.
I got what I need, and that's it. So in order to sustain and maintain, you need to have the passion and the belief and the willing to do it, even if commercially it is not worth it for you. And I'm telling you today, even if it is a virtual event, Dan, during this time, to coordinate between around 30 speakers from 15 different countries and different time zones, and all of the technology headache, and making sure a program is managed and prepared on time with all of the updates and topics and agenda. This is a headache. No one is willing to take it if they don't guarantee that they will make money out of it, right?
Yes, yes.
And until this moment, if you go to our website, you will realize that we have 0 sponsors, but we're still willing to do the initiative, and we are always optimistic until one day before the event, that if things happen, it's good. We get our efforts and time covered, and we're happy to have a sponsor, lastminute.com. But if not, we are proud about the results and the value we create in the community. I mentioned to one other podcast interview that you mentioned, a friend of you, Zaina. In her podcast, I told her many people that I witnessed attending the first Arab Social Media Forum as a hobbyers, and people even who were not even related to social media. Nowadays, I see them working in top international companies as a senior social media directors or head of digital departments, and I feel very proud. You understand? Someone who attended your event
Yeah.
and understood how to be on the right track and the right path, and you see that you were able to change lives. This is a value that I think, for me at least,
Yeah.
more important than money.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, and also this is more important. I believe this content, not just because, I like speaking to you and I like to promote the event, but I believe this is one of the important skills that people need to have and needs to be heard. Because now, not to be an opportunist as well, is that most people are moving and shifting online, and if those people doesn't have the right tools and strategies, then they're missing out. I mean, I see some CEOs trying to create LinkedIn stories. They just rolled out today, and I was talking to one CEO. It's like, so how's the LinkedIn story coming? He said, there's no views coming in. Yeah, I told him, it's the first time, and you need to have, at least be consistent on it. And because that's what social media is all about. It's just about engagement and creating value. And I'm just really curious as well, just to segue a little bit. Do you have like people you walk up to? Let's say I'm encountering these challenges. Do you have like a mentors? Do you have inspiration, or someone that you look up to, maybe probably doing the same thing or guiding you?
You mean as having a mentors? Definitely, I will tell you something, and I don't even mind mentioning some names.
Sure.
Throughout any journey, you always have to have people, number one, who believe in you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who create purpose in your life,
Yep.
and also people who are supportive in the business world, who also believe in your mission and are willing to put their power,
Mm-hmm.
whether as a position or as a financial or any
Yep.
kind of power that they have. So, for example, if I tell you about the personal and emotional part, definitely my parents and my wife and my kids are my main motivators and believers, who always push me forward to do more and aim at succeeding
Mm-hmm.
and making them proud. So definitely my mom and dad and my wife were always supporting to my tough decisions. And I will tell you a very small example.
Mm-hmm.
I quit one of the jobs 4 months before my wedding, in
Wow.
order to launch one startup, which was actually related to the Arab Social Media Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And
And what is the name of that startup?
The Arab Social Media Forum. It was
Okay.
the second edition of the Arab Social Media Forum, right?
Understood. Yeah.
I told you I wanted to make it in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So in order to be able to commit and go to the event and also align it properly with the people, I had a challenging discussion with my company if I can keep doing it or no, and they did not want me to do it while I'm
Working.
working. And I decided, like, no, I want to go for this
Yeah.
vision, and I'm willing to take the risk. But again, I couldn't take the decision on my own, so I had to consult my fiancée. At that time, she was my fiancée. I told her, I'm willing to take that decision, and she answered me a very simple question: I trust you, and I trust your capabilities and your vision and your knowledge. So whatever you do, I'm with you. So this is on a personal level.
Yes.
On a specific Arab social media level, and people who the list is long, definitely, but I will try to bring to you some of the names that definitely I will never be able to forget because of their belief and support. First name that comes to my mind is a friend and very good professional in the industry, called Muhammad Khawaja.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds
He's
familiar.
currently, yes, he's a very active person. I'm sure you would seen him in one of the occasions. And Muhammad is the CEO of a company called Start Apps. which is, I believe, part of a internet holding group called N2V, if I'm not mistaken. It is still until now. And he was at the time we started collaborating. He was, I think, the head of QREC, Queen Rania, QRCE, Queen Rania Center for Entrepreneurship.
And this is in Qatar or Jordan?
Queen Rania is the Queen of Jordan.
Yeah.
So it's Queen Rania Center for Entrepreneurship. And he was the head of the center at that time. And you remember I told you about the successful Twistival that we did?
Yes.
Muhammad played a big role in mentoring me and giving me the right directions and the right support and the right connections. So definitely he's one of the people that I will always, remember when it comes to Arab Social Media Forum. And definitely when we started the Arab Social Media Forum, the first edition, he was also one of the supporters, because, he was involved in the Twistival and he could see my passion and my commitment. So he was willing to involve as his company at that time. He was part of N2V. So they were like part of the event as sponsors, as speakers, and even as a moderator. And he gave me a lot of advices and mentorship.
Yes.
The second that comes to my mind is a very nice gentleman called Sharif Al-Hayek. And at that time, he was the head of marketing for a 5-star hotel in Jordan called Regency Palace. And, the main challenge for an event organizer is usually a venue.
Yeah.
And
especially for the first time.
Especially for the first time.
Yeah.
And he was a key motivator and a key driver of the success of the first edition. He believed in the Arab Social Media Forum, and he believed in me, and he supported me. And definitely he's a name that I will never forget.
Yeah.
Definitely he was also part of the success of the third edition, because we also launched it in their hotel. Not only because definitely the third edition was the first edition, maybe it was a belief, but the third edition it was because they could see the value.
Yes.
They could see the impact. And what does it mean for a venue to bring to them 300 professionals who are from the marketing and PR industry, and the exposure that you can get as a venue. So definitely it's a name that I will never forget. Third and last name that I will mention, because the list is long, and I thank everyone who was involved, but I will get enough with 3 names. But this name comes to my mind because you were talking now about the example of CEOs who are not the best at representing themselves or their companies on social media. And the guy I will talk about is exactly the opposite. The guy I will talk about was one of the first CEOs in the region to have a solid and right presence on social media. And he was a role model for all of the CEOs. And he was always supportive to the initiatives that we did. I will make sure that I share with you the LinkedIn of all of the 3 guys that I will mention. So maybe you can tag them in this podcast. It is worth it for to hear this, appreciation. The third guy is Fadi Ghandour. And I'm sure 99% of the people who watch this podcast knows Fadi Ghandour, a true success story in the region. Not only for being the founder of Aramex, the success story logistics company, which was the first Arab company to be registered under NASDAQ at that time, but also for being the mentor of a great digital ventures and success stories and exits in the region, such as Maktub, Amazon, and other success stories.
Yes.
Fadi Ghandour, he supported us, as I told you, number 1, by supporting the Twistival that I mentioned, which was a success, where Aramex played a big role in supporting the event. Number 1, by being, because to support the charity, we were supposed to have a small registration fees, right?
Yes.
So what Fadi did, he sponsored the $7,000 as a CSR of Aramex, so we can donate it to Al-Aman Orphan Fund. and he was a community, like a sponsor, like a
Yes.
supporter for the initiative. So by doing this, we were able to waive the fees from participants, and this made us host a bigger number of people, which we appreciate. Also, at that time, it was the peak of shop and ship, and people which is owned by Aramex, and
Yeah.
they wanted to reach out to people who are active online, because it is designed for online shopping surveys,
Yeah.
and they offered to all 100 people who attended the event
Mhm.
a free lifetime membership in Shop and Ship.
Wow.
So it was a very nice support from Aramex. Number two, which is again to show you how much he was passionate about social media as a CEO, despite that his company is a logistics company.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with social media. So if
Yes.
you think in your head, how come Aramex will be a sponsor of a social media event?
Mhm.
So after discussing it with Fadi, and he connecting me with his marketing head of Aramex at that time, who was Reem Khoui, we brainstormed together,
Yeah.
and we decided to create a very interesting initiative with Aramex, a creative initiative,
Yeah.
where we launched a video contest. We're talking about podcasts, so this will be interesting for you.
Yeah.
If you remember, at that time, there were a platform called Twitvid, where it allows you to share videos on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
You create short videos, and you share it on Twitter. And we launched a contest sponsored by Aramex, where you have to publish a video on Twitvid using our hashtag and Aramex hashtag, and then you tell us the reason why we should sponsor you as a student. It was designed for students, definitely.
Students, yeah.
Yes, why we should sponsor your participation, because we always design a smaller fees for student, but it wasn't free. So Aramex sponsored 50 students to attend the event by doing this contest, and they covered their fees for these 50 students through this contest.
Yeah.
So definitely also Fadi Ghandour is a guy who was always supportive for entrepreneurs and startups and CSR initiatives of the regions.
Yeah.
So he's my third name for this podcast, and
Yeah.
I would like to beg all of the other people not to be mad
Yeah.
at me if I don't mention them. I love you all. I thank you all. But Dan will kill me if I go on more.
Yeah. Anyway, I really appreciate you sharing your story, your journey, the mentors, and just really because most people don't know this, that whoever wants to produce their own event, even their own webinars or even their own trainings, is that it's really hard to bring people together and organize this whole thing. I mean, some people, even in the past, I did one webinar where I just promoted it massively, and then only 15 people showed up, and of course the next one was like 5 people. And for you doing it consistently without thinking about the money, it's really like, you have a heart of steel, man. And just keep on going there. And before my final question, I wanted to ask you as well, what are the type of topics that we can know more about the ASMF or Arab Social Media Forum this edition?
For sure, I'm happy to take you quickly through the agenda. So we will be having 7 discussion panels, which, as you will notice, covers the hottest topics in the current pandemic. Topic number 1 is related to the social media role in the current challenging, COVID-19 situation. And we will be having definitely a lot of interesting speakers from, maybe I didn't have the chance to mention that before, but we have speakers from top global companies such as Facebook. We have speakers from Nissan Motors company. We have speakers from Wego.com. We have speakers from Social Bakers, the famous analytics company. We have speakers who works also for UN. So we have speakers who work for well-recognized international companies who I believe will add amazing value to the panels. Going back to our panels and topics, the second panel will be related to the role of the COVID-19 in the development and rise of e-commerce, fintech,
yes.
and online payment. We could see the big growth. I was looking at a chart that was published on LinkedIn by someone a few days ago, and it's showing a graph showing the growth of e-commerce in the globe. And it was, we know always that e-commerce is a growing,
industry,
stable growing industry. But the interesting part was usually it was, growing like that, but only in a few weeks it's like this. It's going almost like that. So definitely it is something we will be happy to cover. Another topic that we will cover is also the rise of distance learning and online education during
e-learning
period. And we're bringing expertise who already worked on some online education initiatives and projects to share their expertise with our audience.
Yes.
We also have a panel related to the shift to homework and remote work, and we will share some advice of people who are used to remote work. And we're having some people from Europe who already launched initiative called the remote work movement long time ago, even before Corona. Share their thoughts and why they launched something like that. We will be also sharing a panel about a very interesting subject related to digital content consumption during the pandemic. So,
like maybe streaming service, Netflix or something.
Like online streaming and the podcasts and the whole revolution of online content and digital content through this time. And we're bringing, as I told you, people from
30 countries,
data science background and social bakers who will share. For example, the social baker speaker will share with us a very interesting study that they just conducted about the behaviors of people on Instagram and Facebook during this and how it changed. So definitely it will be a very interesting panel for your audience to watch. Your panel, which you'll be part of with other speakers, as we mentioned, is related to the personal branding and using social media for this purpose, and the importance of this subject during this time. And finally, as I told your audience also before, something that is not directly related to social media, but it's very important for us as humans, how to be able to maintain our social, physical, and mental health during this timing. We have international fitness consultants. We have international mental coach. We have brain master coach. So we have people who also will help you deal with the situation, whether you lost your job, whether you had salary cuts, whether you had health or physical challenges related to you staying at home. We will not forget about this. We will support you also tackle these challenges and inshallah go through it. I'm looking forward to talk with all of valuable speakers such as you, hopefully to learn from their expertise and share their expertise with our audience.
Understood. Thank you so much, Malik. And all the agenda for our audience today, they can go to the website on asmf.me And the website, I'll put on the links on the show notes, or even when I posted it on my channels. And, my last and final question to you, Malik, is, if I'm not sure if you already know the question, but if everything is stripped away from you, this ASMF forum, whatever businesses that you created in the future, I don't know how many editions you plan to run this or for a lifetime. If everything is stripped away from you and you need to start all over again, what would be your main drive to succeed?
So let me answer your question with a question. You're wiping away everything with my knowledge and expertise, or you keep my knowledge and expertise?
You keep your knowledge and expertise, but you need to start all over again. No connections, no nothing.
Definitely, it will be much easier to start over again, and definitely with what I have learned. As I told you, what you gain over the years, Dan, is not the money. Your knowledge and expertise is your capital, right?
Yes.
So whatever you learn during these years, this is your value, right? Otherwise, if I have 18 years experience and someone who joins a company after being a fresh graduate, we will be taking the same salary, right?
Yeah.
So your value is what you know, and definitely it is not only important to count the years of experience.
Yes.
I heard one time an HR professional saying a very interesting comment. Maybe you heard it or you saw it on one comment online. You don't have 10 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience that is repeated for 10 years, right?
Yes.
So are you this or that? Today, if every year you're tapping into a new challenge, new connections, new dreams, new objectives, and you work on it, this is what I can call really experience. But if you're doing your job, the same boring routine, every day you wake up, you do it again for the past 10 years, I will have to agree with this HR professional and tell you, sorry, man, don't come to me and tell me you have 10 years of experience.
Yes.
You have repeated your 1 year of experience for 10 years. So please start working on building some years of experience. So luckily, I think what I have built through the past 18 years, whether it was a technical knowledge or an actual hands-on knowledge related to technology, marketing, and events, is fair enough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it is enough, because anyone who thinks he learned enough, I think he's doing the biggest mistake in his life.
Yeah.
The moment you think you are done, you're doing the biggest mistake in your life. Every day should be a new experience, a new learning, and a new dream for you.
Yeah.
But I believe it will be easier for me than the way I started 10 years ago, the Arab Social Media Forum.
Yes.
Again, relating to your question, what if things are not wiped from you? Do I wait things to be wiped and taken away, or I always start thinking about new initiatives, new objectives, and new dreams?
Yes.
And these things doesn't have always to be related to your career life or business life. We were talking off recording before this interview about you commenting on me losing weight.
Yes.
And I told you, I shared with you my story about how in 2019, I had an objective of maintaining my health and changing my eating and exercising lifestyle. And without doing a crazy change, with a balanced effort, I could change my lifestyle and completely change my life by losing 15 kilos in less than 3 months. Also, I started also in the same period in 2019 working on my education path, and I finished my bachelor degree long time ago, which was related to computer information systems.
Yeah.
Maybe yes, I got a diploma at some period in leadership and social media, and I worked a lot on some training courses related to marketing and sales and human skills development. But still, I felt maybe, Malik, it's time for you to develop yourself again in the academic life and chase your MBA. So I started doing my MBA. I'm currently in my 8th module. I have 4 modules remaining, and soon, inshallah, I will have my international MBA done. So you have to work on yourself without having to wait for someone to take away things from you.
Yes.
You have to always do it because you believe in it. You believe that developing yourself, loving yourself. If you don't love yourself and take care of yourself, man, appreciate yourself, reward yourself. Trust me, I am someone who rewards himself after any achievement. I'm not joking. I would buy myself a gift. I would take myself to a trip. I will do something to reward myself, because if you don't appreciate yourself, how you expect, number one, people around you to appreciate you? Number two, how you expect you to appreciate people who do something good for you?
Yes.
So definitely, you need to work on yourself. We're working now, in addition to the Arab Social Media Forum, since now we're celebrating the 10 years anniversary, we're relaunching the website of the company that I launched to launch the Arab Social Media Forum, which is called Creative Glance. So now we're launching new events under the portfolio of Creative Glance.
Wow.
So I'm launching, inshallah, soon an event related to fintech with a lot of experienced professionals in this industry coming on board. I'm also launching an event related to marketing. So the Arab Fintech Forum and the Arab Marketing Forum is a new product that will be launched very soon, inshallah, by the same faces behind the Arab Social Media Forum.
Understood. Thank you so much, Malik. And this is the first time I'm gonna do this for most of our listeners, or audio or video. As you already heard with Malik, is that, are you developing your skills to make sure you're relevant this year or even for the next coming years, or are you comfortable just sitting back and waiting for things to happen or things to get worse? So if this is you, I suggest, and you are interested in social media and all the topics that we discussed today, please visit the website at asmf.me. And once again, Malik Shishtawi, thank you so much for sharing your journey, and have a good one, and see you on the event itself.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Thank you for the time you have put to conduct this online interview or your podcast. And thank you again for being one of the valuable speakers to join us during the event. And if someone is still able to reach this end of this podcast, which means he watched the full podcast, I really thank you for the time you invested watching this podcast. And I hope me and Dan together could add at least this much of value to your knowledge and your planning, inshallah, in the future.
All right, understood. Thank you so much, Malik, and see you on the next one.